Good evening and welcome to the Philipstown Planning Board for April 2019. Tara, please take the roll.
Anthony Moranti.
Here.
Kim Connor. Here. Dennis Magna.
Here.
David Hardy.
Here.
Peter Lewis. Here. Neil Toman.
Here.
Neil Zuckerman.
Approval of minutes from the March 21st meeting. Anyone comments, additions, deletions? I'll entertain a motion to adopt the March 21 minute. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. First item is a request for return of escrow from Jim Matera, J. Mark Jewelers. Any comments? Anybody know of any? Ron? Tara? Nothing? Entertain a motion to refund escrow money for J. Mark Jewelers.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Now, we have two public hearings tonight. The first is Miranda L. Grimm Juby, 977 East Mountain Road South. Applicant is seeking approval of final subdivision lot line adjustment. Well, we'll get into the explanation. Representative here? Glenn?
Good evening. Glenn Watson from Beatty and Watson for Miranda Grimm Juby, who's sitting right there. No, where? Right there. got confused for a second. Essentially, we have a 20-acre piece that is divided into about, I'm going to say, without checking my notes, 15 and 5 acres, or 19 and 5 acres. And what we want to do is adjust the lot line so that the smaller parcel becomes much larger and takes the bulk of the land, and the larger parcel gets smaller and meets the zoning, but is smaller because the family is in a position where the parents of the family are deceased. They had been living there. They would like to dispose of that piece of property. They don't have the use for it anymore. The remainder of the family lives in the back larger parcel and in a parcel to the west. So they want to adjust the lot line to capture just the 10 acres to sell with the house so they can maintain the bulk of the property in the back. And there's no plan here for any construction. There's no plan for anything that would result in any physical activity on there, on the property. So that's really our story in a nutshell. There were a couple of questions with regard to the guest quarters that are over a garage here. We've determined that was there and prior to the zoning, and it's probably still okay, but it's at the very worst a pre-existing non-conforming use. There was a question with regard to the driveway stone wall. We had a little bit of a conflict in terms of wanting to preserve the wall, but not being able to because we have to keep the driveway a certain distance from the wall. And moreover, the family's direct instructions to me is they want to keep the entire wall so they can maintain it into the future. And that wall lines the driveway. It's the easterly wall on the easterly side of the driveway. So while we might normally have followed the wall, we're not in a position to do so, both for by town code and by the wishes of our client. So you have exactly 10 acres, and you have the remainder of the property in the back. If you can see this, I think I handed this out last time, but if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the two colors, how they basically swap, and the whole story is told by looking at the left side with a little bit of pink and a lot of orange, and then looking at the right side with a lot of pink and quite a bit less orange. With that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone from the board?
There's just one thing, Andy. Glenn, I think misspoke. There was some indication that there's a possibility that there might be some pre-existing non-conforming rights in regard to that apartment. But in fact, what it's recognized as is a legal accessory apartment. Okay. There's no pre-existing non-conforming use recognized. Maybe if they wanted to make that argument to the zoning board, you know, they might get somewhere. But on this lot line change, that is being approved solely as an existing legal accessory apartment.
Okay, thank you. Ron, any comments?
The board got a technical memorandum from my office last month. As the applicant's representative explains, it involves only a lot line adjustment. There's no new development planned. At the prior meeting, you took care of various administrative issues, made necessary referrals. The referral to Putnam County Planning or the response from Putnam County Planning to the referral is still outstanding. But as the board directed, I have prepared a draft approval resolution for your consideration tonight, should you wish to close the public hearing.
Okay, would the applicant like to say anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Kim.
So I'm sorry I wasn't here last month, so I didn't get to ask any questions then. As this exists now, are these both legal building lots?
Yes, they
are.
both pre-exist, yes.
Uh-huh. So does this change since, what's the zoning, is it 15 acre now?
As far as I know, there's only one issue. First of all, we are removing the nonconformity of this smaller lot by bringing it over 10 acres. This smaller lot doesn't have sufficient frontage, but we can't really, as a practical matter, remove that nonconformity because of the distance between the driveway and the house. So we're leaving that nonconforming condition on the map. We are removing the nonconforming with regard to area.
Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is, and maybe this is for Steve and Ron, I know that before the zoning came in 2011, right?
Yeah.
That all building lots that were legal building lots at that time were to remain as legal building lots. Does changing this, is the zoning here 15 acres?
That was
10.
10, okay, so then it's over, okay, good, thank you.
The only nonconformity was the frontage on one lot, and it's not being made any more nonconforming, so you're permitted to act.
So if, just unrelated to this, just as a question, like if let's say that it was 15 acres, at the point that you make this change, does that change your rights based on the 2011 designation?
Yeah, they would have to come into current zoning.
Yeah.
And again, that they're creating that lot, they're maintaining the lot that they're making smaller at the minimum 10-acre size. That's exactly why they're doing that.
Thanks.
Anyone else on the board?
I should just add one thing.
Okay.
That frontage actually got a little bigger. It didn't make it all the way to conforming, but it got a few feet bigger.
Would the applicants like say anything? No. Open up to the public, and any comments from the public? Hearing none. Move to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Now we have a couple issue resolution from Ron.
Just one, there's no secret resolution because it's a type 2 action.
Right. Well, this is just an approval resolution.
Just
Right.
the approval resolution.
Yeah, right. So we have a resolution of approval. Motion to adopt.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second public hearing is 1657 Route 90, Buck. Applicant received site plan approval in May of 2018. The application is now seeking modification of the approved site plan for change in the layout of the secondary driveway out of Gilboa Lane, expansion of the approved regrading. At the March meeting, we directed Mr. Gaynor to prepare resolutions to be voted on this evening, pending the outcome of the public hearing. Glenn? Okay.
Let Tim show you, you asked for the building plans. I mounted the wrong thing. I gotta go back into my bag and get the right thing, so I need a moment. But you asked Tim
yeah,
to
okay.
explain bring elevations.
Okay.
Tim Moore, the architect on the project, to bring elevations and maybe give you a glimpse at them while I correct my problem.
These little back clips. What will we do without these things anymore?
So, this, in terms of,
Mike. For the record, just state your name.
yes, Tim Moore. I'm the architect for Chris Buck and Harris Schwartz on this project. So, just a quick reprise, this is very similar to what you all saw earlier. It's just expanded somewhat and developed in terms of details. But I mean, the palette of materials is pretty much stone. We're going now with like a blackened stainless steel metal windows and lead-coated copper standing seam roofs. So it's all, and then there'll be some wood elements that'll be most likely cedar or teak, but basically woods that are all grayed and weathered. So fundamentally, the addition is going to be a series of muted grays. This is a granite block that are, the coursing's running like 18, 12, and 15 inches, so they're quite large. They're 30 to 40 inches long. So this part will all be fresh split face block, granite block, but they're like this. So they're going to be a little quieter than what's right here. That's just like a fieldstone pattern right now. And so this is coming down toward the house from the new driveway. That's a cut through the underground garage. And this is seeing sort of the back side of the house. This is a stair here and an office with a guest room down there. This is the view from the east side, looking across the face of the old house to this granite wall and the building proper behind it. But we're going to be planting, all of this will have trees, and this roof will have, there's some big pockets for planting ornamental trees and shrubs, and it'll pretty much feel like kind of a wooded zone as you come down to the house. So as you approach the house, really what you're going to perceive more than anything is the old house. And the whole addition is really meant to be very recessive and quiet. So, you know, its gross footprint is quite a bit bigger in this house. It's sort of a little big house because it's very tall, but it's really not as big as it appears to be, which is kind of classic for older houses. And then these two elevations, this is looking toward the river. You won't see this. This is pretty much hidden West Point. The woods come out like this, so it kind of hides from West Point and then looks straight down the river. That is very prominent on the river. And this also has solar panels, or not really panels, but so-called brise soleil trellises that put it in shade and help keep the glass from being really in your face, but there are also trees in front of it. And then this side is facing west toward Breakneck and Storm King, basically the woods down toward the foundry. This is the underground garage here. This is the tail end of the building, and the old house again is prominent on the hill. And this is, these are from a walkout basement. There's a gym and basically a spa and stuff down in here. So it's really, even though it's a large addition, we've really worked to try to make it deferential to the old house. The old house will remain cream, sort of yellow colored, so it'll be very much still an object on the hill. And again, these are all stone elements with these large granite blocks. And this is all blackened stainless steel and glass. And that's it in a nutshell.
I'd like you to address, when Ron made his report to us in March, I counted about 10 different changes, and I'd just like to have you address, and I wonder what the relationship to this amended site plan. I mean, things like originally approved office and access driveway utility extensions that are no longer proposed, existing entrance from Gilboa, that's on the list. The existing tenants court will now be, which was planned to be removed, will now be retained. The whole list of items. Could you give us a package of what their relationship or to the site?
The original site plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so originally there was a, coming down off the,
You might need the site.
well, right, but we were waiting for, we have the site plan? Okay. That'll make it easier. So, oh, do you want to, I mean, I'm happy to. Go ahead. Okay. So originally we had a,
Stay with the mic.
there we go. Is that better?
Closer to the left.
You're talking on point.
Okay. There we go. Is that better? Okay. Here's the existing tennis court. Originally, the plan was to remove it, but now we've decided that we'd like to have it remain in place. It has to be completely rebuilt. It's pretty well trashed. There was originally an office proposed for this knoll out here, and we were going to reconstitute the old farm road that came out this way. We've decided to abandon that, and in abandoning that, we abandoned a septic system here as well as a utility extension that ran all the way down like this over to that office.
Now, the septic you're showing on the last item here is a separate SSTS for the barn and pool areas.
That's over here.
Okay,
So there's one septic system here, and there's another set right here.
okay,
And there was to be a third one here.
yeah.
Just review the other changes as well, there's a variety.
So we have, the building's extended a little bit in this direction. We've also, in terms of scope, are accounting for more land disturbance than we originally had proposed, just because we weren't sure what we were doing. But now we're regrading this in the process of we're dropping the grade at the driveway, which we had always planned to do, so that, because the house originally had more of an English basement relationship to the ground. So there's a stoop now coming out the front door. It's about 30 inches above the grade, so we're pushing this grade back down so that we can re-expose the original entrance to the kitchen, which is underneath the house. So in doing that, we have to play with these grades here in order to make it all pan out correctly. Let's see.
There are a couple of other things that you didn't see on the other plan is that because the office building, small office building went away and that driveway didn't have to be reconstituted, and because the owner acquired the Richley property, the former greenhouse, they decided it would be an easier and more desirable route. So the driveway, instead of going down the hill and out and connecting to the original driveway, they decided to take it more straight out. So the driveway is moved uphill, less grading, less
Is the greenhouse
disturbance.
coming down, Glenn? Is it-
I don't know about any problems, any plans with the
Oh, okay.
greenhouse.
The greenhouses are over here, so it
Green-
doesn't affect them. This is just that lot.
It's-
Okay.
And the driveway is way behind the house, way behind the septic and all of the infrastructure necessary for that. Additionally, the original plan showed the driveway the way it had been for years, the driveway into the neighbor's house, which was and basically followed this, went north of the new barn and circled into the neighbor's property. They've made an arrangement with the neighbor to relocate that, and the driveway now is going down and off the property. So those are two significant changes. They were calculated in our disturbance, and one of the reasons the disturbance got bigger. I think that pretty much covers the changes.
Okay. Ron, you have any comments?
No, as you said, there's a whole list of changes being made to the site plan, the original approval. In total, there's not too many different things. I mean, the majority, the building additions that they were proposing, only minor changes have been made. The significant issue is the relocation of the secondary driveway out to Gilbo, and the elimination of the small office and that associated driveway utility extension. Those are significant reductions in disturbance. I think the basic issue is that now that the construction has commenced, the owner and the architect have decided to make further enhancements that were not covered by your original approval. There's also various paths they're adding, and
Yeah.
things of that sort that the owner obviously finds attractive that would not have significant impact environmentally or, I think, of much concern to the board.
Thanks. Comments from the board? Anyone? Questions? From the audience? Sir? Yeah, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Henry Christensen. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Boscobel Restoration, and I'm here at the request of Jennifer Carlquist, the Executive Director, who couldn't be here. And I'm here to speak in favor of the project and the modifications. We find the project and the modifications appropriate, consistent, in harmony with the landscape and the surrounding properties and uses. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience?
Hi, good evening. My name is Evelyn Berkeley. I'm a neighbor on Gilbo Lane, and I know Mr. Buck and Dr. Schwartz, and we're very inspired by the changes they're making, and I feel like they're doing right by this old estate and the property. I just had one request and then one inquiry. The request is that if at all possible, at the base of the new driveway, if there can be some screening, because it looks into our bedroom, and then, but it may not be logistically possible because there's not a lot of land right there. There's kind of a little wedge between where the driveway comes out in the lane. So it may be something that we have to do on my neighbors and my property on our side of Gilbo Lane.
Show us where that would be on the subdivision plat.
So yeah, it's right here, sort of that little section right there. So that's the Richards.
Are you this house here?
Yeah, I'm the first house.
Driveway's coming out here,
So-
Yeah,
and so somebody would be turning on
right,
on the
yeah.
grade.
So it's this sight line right there, that's all.
So actually, it should be, we can walk it with you, and because right now, our plan is actually to bring this all back with new plantings and screen it out, so.
There's still some trees here, but I wasn't sure if
Yeah,
you're
they're
taking them or not.
pretty much trash.
Yeah.
So, the plan is actually to put screen
Grab the
trees
mic.
like, sorry. Screen trees like evergreens and that sort of thing there, but we could definitely work with you as far as,
Okay, cool. I imagined that there would be a,
because it's also
A
should, it
landscape
has a
plan.
little bit more of a sweep to it, so it should
yeah,
help a little bit.
it's, yeah, that helps.
but-
The other question has to do with just drainage at the base of the driveway. So when there's a lot of rain, heavy rain event, there's a lot of sheeting down Gilbo Lane, and there's already really poor drainage at the end of Gilbo Lane going down into the foundry. And I've tried to get Scenic Hudson to come out and do some things on their part of the property, which is sort of on the non-public side of the foundry, and didn't really get anywhere. There's some failing rock walls there because of sort of water jetting down. So I just wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be a big influx of water added to that water that's already hitting the bottom of Gilbo Lane. I wasn't sure what your plan was at the bottom of your of their driveway.
It should actually be sheeting water off this way and not back into the woods here and not coming down the driveway. So that's a question of how the topography of the driveway is handled.
Okay, and I imagine the curves in the driveway also help to diffuse the, right, but will there be some kind of drain like at the base where it hits Gilbo Lane? Because there's still gonna be a run of pavement, right, that's gonna sheet water down to here, and then it's gonna go here. And then there's already like a big gully where the rainwater funnels down into the foundry there.
I'll have to look at that, but we'll look at that, that's.
Okay. Thanks, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ron has prepared a couple of resolutions. One is a negative declaration under seeker. Motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. And we have an approval resolution. Ron prepared for us. Motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Old business. Ron and Steve, I'll put you on the firing line here. The 1122 Route 9D Realty, the canopy over the gasoline pumps, where do we stand on this?
Right, the board had recently made a site inspection of the premises, met with the applicant, walked through the project site. There were various neighbors there as well to help advise the board of what concerns they had identified. All the notes that I took from that meeting were reduced to a memorandum that was issued to the board. I also took the opportunity, once it was accepted by the board, to issue that to the applicant's engineer and his attorney. I've, on multiple occasions, tried to reach both of them to see if we could start some interplay so they could perfect their application. There's various things that they still have to resolve on the site plan. The EAF was very deficient, and just today I received some information from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation that I had foiled to just understand the status of the environmental spill that occurred many years ago, to understand the whether that was in fact closed and accepted by DEC. So I haven't been able to look at that yet, but we have received information that I'll forward to the board. So there's a variety of things that have to be addressed by the applicant before the application's perfected. And I'm still attempting to speak with their representatives to get that done.
Anybody have any questions for Ron?
No, but I do have one thing to say. Whoever's in the kitchen, I know, but we can still hear him up here. It's just that this room is a megaphone. Thank you.
Charge you a quarter for that discussion. Steve, anything?
Put a sign in.
The only other issue on this we dealt with last month was the accessory use issue. And we discussed how accessory uses are uses that are usually and customarily operated on the same property with the main use, and secondly are clearly secondary to the main use. We discussed how car sales are recognized in the town of Philipstown as permitted accessory uses with repair shops, at least on a limited basis. However, whether they're permitted with gasoline stations is an open question, and whether they're permitted with repair shops / gasoline stations is an open question. So you have to draw on your own experience and what you've seen in the town and how it's operated over the years. And if you can say definitely, in your own minds at least, that accessory automobile sales are, accessory automobile sales are permitted accessory use with a gasoline station / repair shop, then you should permit them to go forward with their application and not send them to the ZBA. But if you're not certain that it's a permitted accessory use, then you should send them to the ZBA for an interpretation. And we kind of kicked that around last month, but I don't know that the board made any determination as to which way they were going to go on that.
I think partly because it's been a little held at arm's length. I mean, the discussion with them, we haven't, it's been kind of up and down. They're coming to us and having full-fledged discussion on it, so.
Well, you were gonna see at the site plan just
Yeah.
how secondary it was going
Yeah.
to be, and,
Right.
you know, whether this is the type of thing that you've seen before, and if it's close enough or not, and I don't know if the the site visit helped you with that at all or not, but I throw the issue out there for you.
Okay, so we'll just wait for their, come to us, okay? The next item is the Hudson Highland Reserve. Without going into the details, we were presented with that long DEIS. Mr. Rourke?
Good evening. Richard O'Rourke from Keenan Bean, attorneys for the applicant. Yes, it's a long PDEIS, and it is because obviously we wanted to be as responsive as we possibly could to all the comments that were received. I know you all have received copies, either hard copies or a flash drive, whatever way you wanted it. And we're here this evening to say that we're pleased we finally have it off our desks and on yours. And in addition to that, Steve Gobb and I discussed the issue of perhaps some surgeries and people on vacation, and that you may need some additional time to get back. Obviously, we're now in a clock under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and as a courtesy, we have no objection to extending your time to the May 16th meeting, which I think is your next meeting. So that's where we are. I know that there was some correspondence between Aaron and Steve on some issues. I don't know whether there's anything else you want us to address, other than we'll extend you the courtesy of the additional time.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, so AKRF, we're still going through this revised document. I will say that it's a lot better than the first one, so nice work. We're going to have written, we're going to take a look at the comments that we put together in the memo from December, and if they're addressed, we'll note that they're addressed. If not, we'll say, explain why, and we'll ask that they get fixed before the next meeting. There shouldn't be major revisions needed. There's a few things that I noticed just that I would like to bring up, just minor things to consider. The photo simulation set that's in there right now, figures 35A through L, nicely done. Their previous version didn't have anything. So now we have photographic simulation showing viewpoints from various locations, showing outlines of homes where they would be in a leaf-off condition, which is good, more conservative view. There is a site section in the lower left corner of each one of those figures that didn't really translate well to the print or the PDF electronic that we've got. So we can't read the dimensions, the distances on the sections. So just take a look at that and make that clearer for the public release when it happens. And also on the executive summary, it would be great if we could just throw a table in there, small or large, however you want to do it, summarizing each topic that we've got. We've got 4 areas that this is covering. If there's impacts or not, and there's mitigation or not. So it's clearly up front in the executive summary, because not to dismiss all the hard work you guys have done, but a lot of folks go right to that executive summary right away to see what the conclusions are of this. And if you have it outlined right up front what your impacts are, if you're identifying any, it's kind of unclear. And you have a section at the end of the document that says unavoidable impacts, and you mention a few things, but for example, removal of forests is unavoidable impact. But in the wildlife and vegetation section, you state no significant impacts that need mitigation. So just, blend the two in any way that you see fit, but, we need to have a summary up front of the impacts, mitigation, unavoidable impacts in the executive summary.
When might we, obviously we want to be responsive to you, but when might we get your comments?
So each of us issued our own set. So we'll talk and coordinate, but I think it's looking most likely like the first week of May, or like that tail end of April, first week of May, which is a blend there. That week we should have written.
I don't think it'll be the tail end of April, I think it'll be the first week in May. I'll be very surprised if we can get it out for that last week. Maybe you can, but I don't know if the rest of us
Yeah,
can.
I think the expectation has been, at least for the internal discussions we've had with AKRF, is we expect to get comments issued. For us, it'll be a similar joint memorandum from AKRF and
Well, May
my office.
1st is a Wednesday, so like the week of April 29th to May 3rd, is that?
Yeah, and I just was going to say that I expect that we'll probably issue it within the 30-day period, which is going to end either May 3rd or May 4th. We'll get it
So by
issued to
May
the board,
3rd at the
and
latest.
we'll get it issued to the board initially, and then upon your acceptance, we'll issue it to the applicant's representatives in advance of the May meeting, so you have plenty of opportunity to understand our issues prior to the meeting.
Right. And again, this is completeness for release to the public. It's not substantive review yet of the document. That's going to happen after it's released. There's going to be public hearings. There's going to be public comment. We'll have more comments. Ron and Steve will have more comments. This is just to address the completeness memo that we issued in December.
In Ron's memo that he gave to us, I saw a distinction between acceptance, notifying the applicant of acceptance, and completeness. We're not, as you said, we're not determining completeness now. Are we accepting it tonight, or are we going to wait till May 3rd?
It's the May meeting. Will you decide if it's accepted or not for
Okay.
release?
Yeah, tonight
Which
you're
is
just
also-
acknowledging receipt of the revised
Well, that's what I
document.
meant, receipt, not acceptance,
Right.
receipt.
The May meeting, you're actually going to have to take a vote on determining whether it's complete or not.
Right.
And the completeness is just to establish whether it sufficiently responds to everything that was in your original scoping document. And if you find that it is acceptable, that it is determined to be complete, that then initiates a public comment period. And so when we discuss that in May, we'll talk about timing of that and what other schedules apply to the public comments.
Okay. Do we need to take any official action tonight, Ron, in acknowledging
You
receipt?
can just acknowledge for the record that you received it.
Okay.
You don't really even need a vote on that.
Okay.
If you want to, you can, but.
No, that's,
Well, I think, if I may, respectfully, I think you want to acknowledge that we've granted you the extension to May 16th.
okay,
Because otherwise, your time has expired.
right. Anyone make a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Let me just make the statement, and then you. We have new business, Daniel Schublin and Mimi Fortunata, 359 East Mountain Road South, construct a new single-family residence. Folks, please. And detached garage to be served by individuals, private septic system and well. 1.58 acre property is an RR, rural residential. Kim has something to say.
So I am a neighbor technically, so I'm going to step away and recuse myself.
You want to get a couple of lattes while you're away? Let me quiet down a little bit, Glenn, first. Okay, Glenn? Everybody have your stuff?
Good evening. It's an application from Daniel Schoblin and Ms. Fortunato, whose first name I can't remember.
Mimi.
So this is a pre-existing lot. It was here before zoning. It has a ridge line going through it. There's a buildable area down in the back. Our plan is to construct a driveway down to a garage and a modest house in the rear of the property. We have a septic area that's been tested, and will service the proposed house. It's not an awful lot to say about this. We've protected it. We've respected the wetlands. We've kept ourselves off the ridge line. We have a house that's probably not going to be seen from anywhere. Might be seen from the former Carlson Green nursery, but That's about it, if at all. And so you're aware, and we're aware that the house site that's been selected is in the setback area. And so we understand that we're going to need a variance before this can be approved, but we're hoping you will take a site visit to the property just to see why that was done. I mean, it just makes more sense. And it's an acre and a half, 1.6 acres, kind of going to be a very private spot, and we hope you'll approve it. So try to answer any questions that you might have.
Any comments, Ron?
Yeah, the board has a technical memorandum from my office upon review of the application documents. As described, it's a small parcel. It's a small structure that's being proposed. Normally, that would not come before you for consideration, but because it's in it's got an identified town-designated ridge line across the frontage of the property, those regulations specify that it requires site plan approval from this board, and that's the reason the application was filed. As also indicated by the representative, the building is in the rear of the property. It actually intrudes on the rear yard setback. That's being done for a few reasons. One is to avoid steep slopes, regulated steep slopes that also exist on the tract. And there's a stone wall in the rear that they wish to maintain, and it very likely is something that you would want them to maintain. So they're proposing that intrusion in the hope that the ZBA will eventually grant them the relief that they require. I would concur with the representative's assessment that even though it does require a denial so that they can proceed with the ZBA application, that you consider scheduling a site visit so you can evaluate environmental considerations, understand the development concept that's being proposed. And I think that covers the majority of issues that I would have. The Clarence Fenstock Park is in the environs of the property. I have asked the surveyor to just verify whether that's within a 500-foot radius of the parcel boundaries to determine if it requires a county referral or not. That's something I yet have to determine. So that's up in the air at this point. And then there's just standard technical issues that have to be resolved for the site plan that's presented to you, ultimately for your consideration.
Okay. Steve, anything?
The only thing I'd say is you need to make a decision as to whether you're going to go forward with the referrals and making your declaration as to, it's an unlisted action under secret or not. You could do that now, or you could do on your site visit, wait for them to come back from the ZBA and then do that. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. If the applicant has a preference, I think you might want to accommodate them on that. The other thing I'd say is it's probably easier to send it to county planning than it is to figure out if they're 500 feet away or not. I mean, if you mismeasure, it's jurisdictional and it'll negate whatever you do. And, it might just be easier than measuring. I don't know. Like, again, let's see how the applicant feels.
We could check it easy enough, and if it's close, I agree with you. If it's, we'll check it tomorrow.
All right.
I agree with you, Steve. We can do some of the easy stuff now and get it done with. So we need a number of motions. Declare this a minor site plan. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Well, let's do the easy one. Site visit. Tara, you want to look up a date?
The earliest could be the 28th of April, otherwise May 5th. May 12th was the last date before your next meeting, but I believe that's Mother's Day. I'm not sure.
Okay. Anybody for the 28th?
I'm okay for the 28th.
Anybody not? Fine. Okay, motion to establish a site visit on the 28th?
Make that motion.
All in favor? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Referral to the, should we wait till referral to the ZBA? We can go ahead and do that now.
You really should do that now, absolutely.
Yeah, Okay, motion to refer to the ZBA for the area variance? Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you.
Steve, will you issue that similar letter? Thank you.
You want to declare it on enlisted action and
Yeah.
say that you're gonna do an uncoordinated review?
Motion to that effect? Second? Second. All in favor? Thank you.
And then you just hold off on the 239M, the CB, and I don't know if you're gonna send it to the fire department or not, but when they come back, I guess you can send them if,
Or again, we could just move them along.
Yeah, I was just gonna do it,
you do it now?
do the referrals, yeah.
I'll do it now, you can do it now.
The county, the fire department, and who else?
Well, the other question was 239M, but I think Glenn said he wants to look into that.
Well, I don't mind if you send it, if it's sent, do we have to wait if we find out it's not? I mean, I could check it, you can authorize Ron to do it if we
If you don't need it,
if
then
we
you
make
don't
that
have to.
determination.
Yeah, right, if you don't need it, then.
Yeah, we can authorize Ron to make that let me check it in the morning, authorize Ron to make it if it's necessary. We can put our heads together and get it done.
Otherwise, we can still make the referral to the fire department.
Right, sure.
All right, do we need a package? Can we put it all in the package?
You certainly can.
A motion to have these referrals, county fire department, 239M. Motion to the effect? Second? Second. All in favor? Aye, thank you.
Now, is there any reason we couldn't have a public hearing in May?
Well, you're winging it, you know, we gave you a lot here.
Variance first.
You're pushing for the extra.
know
You want
why?
the
It's
cherry
'cause
on top?
Neil's not here.
Yeah. You want the cherry on top? He's got a broken foot, he's gonna have a broken
Just a
knee.
note for the board, and as many of you understand, I'm going to be unavailable for the sidewalk, so my expectation is I'll visit the property next week sometime while I'm still mobile. And we'll just issue you my comments informally. You'll have them by the time you go to the sidewalk.
Hop along gainer.
Manly ring.
I know, I've been through it. The last thing we have, you want to discuss this Brookmead Estate thing? Ron, you submitted this Brookmead Estate.
That was just from our pre-app.
Okay, then we'll
Yeah,
wait
this is
till,
pre-app.
we'll
Nothing
wait till
to-
next month.
It's just something to keep for
Is
your
there anything
records.
else for the board? And Ms. Connor has returned to the stage. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.